All right, friendos, pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, everybody, welcome. Kathy, you can do a roll call, please.
Present.
Present.
Here.
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 Here. Man, so who won the arm wrestle? All right. Please.
We're grateful for the freedoms we have and for the community that surrounds us. We ask for your wisdom and guidance in every decision, every discussion in tonight's meeting. Please bless every person who's here tonight, bless their homes and families, and please continue to bless us all with your light. Amen.
All right. Any liaison reports tonight?
Yes, I do. For special events, we have multiple events on Saturday, November 29. The first is Christmas in the Square from 1 to 5 p.m. The annual holiday event includes a tree lighting, Santa Claus, and lots of family fun. So far, there's over 2,700 people that have expressed interest on Facebook. And thank you to White Oak Library for collaborating with us this year. The Festival of Trees at Gladys Fox Museum will be hosted by the Lockport Township Park District. There will be Small Business Saturday promoted by the Lockport Chamber of Commerce and Movie Night at the Roxy, which will be featuring the Muppet Christmas Carol. Doors open at 6:30 and it includes Christmas carolers and a winter coat drive. And tickets are on sale now. The next slide for multiple events is Saturday, December 6th. There will be a State Street Mistletoe Market at the Metra parking lot from 11 till 5 p.m. in collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce. This will be a preview to the new farmers market that will be launching in May, and over 1,500 people have already expressed interest on Facebook. That same day, there will be the Lockport Annual Cookie Walk from 11:30 to 3:30, and tickets go on sale this Friday, November 7th at noon. It is limited to 400 people, and over 800 people have showed interest on Facebook. This is usually sells out in a couple of hours, so it's a hot ticket. And then lastly, on December 6th is the Jingle Bell Jam at Delwood Park from 4:30 to 6:30. It's hosted by the Lockport Township Park District. Then we have the movie night at Roxy Theater. On Sunday, December 4th, we'll be showing a double feature. At 3 o'clock, there'll be the Polar Express, and then at 7 o'clock, the seasonal classic Holiday Inn. Tickets will go on sale for both of these shows on November 14th. And November 14th. Yep. I'm sorry. The tickets go on sale November 14th, but the show is on December 14th. For sale, and then the show's December 14th. I know it's confusing with both of them being on the 14th.
You should have wore your wig, bro.
We're all confused. And the last thing I wanted to share is this Sunday, there will be a community food drive sponsored by the LTHS 205 Foundation. It will be held on Sunday, November 9th at the Lockport Township East Campus, and it will be from 10 a.m. until noon or until supplies last. And there will be a drive-through food giveaway for those in need. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Susan. What else?
Okay, I've got a police liaison report for today. This morning, I was lucky enough to join the Lockport Police Department and their hosting of the Lockport Township High School Government Internship students. During their visit, the students toured the police department facility and gained an inside look at the department's daily operations. They explored the evidence vault and the CSI processing area, observed a live drone demonstration through the department, and even participated in a hands-on activity where they helped process a mock crime scene. Students also had the opportunity to see and handle some of the specialized equipment and tools that officers use in the field every day. It was an engaging and educational experience that offered the students valuable insight into the many responsibilities and technologies involved in modern law enforcement. It also set a very high bar for the rest of you departments when you have these kids in. And number two, last Friday on Halloween, our officers were out in the neighborhoods handing out candy from our festively decorated spooky squad cars. The department would like to, and the city, would like to extend a special thank you to Hell's Gate Haunted House for providing 4 incredible costume characters who joined our officers in spreading Halloween cheer. That was a fun and memorable evening for both the officers and our hauntingly good guests.
Did any of them get tased? Should have used the old guns. They were less powerful. I have a financial update. Lisa's going to talk about the budget, so I won't mention too much on that. But I do want to extend a shout out publicly to the Public Works Department. They did a lot of work in my ward, including 9th Street. I think 9th Street turned out phenomenal. I mean, I had to go downtown today and I took 9th Street, and unlike days when you're backed up like at Madison, it was clear sailing all the way downtown. So that third lane really makes a difference, get people left turn out of the way. You guys did a great job. I think it turned out beautiful. I would mention to the public that if there are any things that you find, Brian probably has a punch list a mile long of things that still need to get done. Give them a call and he'll add it to the list if it's not already on there. And then this way it gets taken care of timely. So again, great job to Public Works. The way it ties into finance is when we put these bids or projects out to bid, you know, we're kind of mandated to pick the lowest price. And there are criteria. If a vendor doesn't do good work, low price is thrown out the window. So, but I think the vendors that you've chosen show that, you know, the quality of work is there. You know, I'm not going to complain about a 2-foot by 2-foot area when you got a 1.5 mile 3-lane road that was perfect. So, but yeah, thanks to the Lockport residents for your patience going through this. I think the net result was achieved. And again, thanks again, Brian, you and your team.
No, thanks, Pat. Christina, you got anything?
Yes, I have 2 things. Just to piggyback on what Susan said with the community food drive. The food drive is November 9th, but if you want to drop off food, there's 12 businesses in the area. Just go to the city website and those locations will be listed. Some of the locations will also take frozen goods as well as non-perishables. Also, we have the community garden survey. Very important to take that survey. We want to know if a community garden is something we should have in Lockport. So far, this survey has been the response has been positive, but we want to make sure before we put shovels in the ground. And also not on a slide though is Urban Canopy. They're the ones that do our composting. They have a bin on the, what would it be, this Never Eat? The north side, sorry, I had to do that compass. The north side of the building, they collected over 100 pounds of composting material. So 100 pounds, that's a lot of garbage. That's almost as heavy as I am. And that's it.
Well, it's a lot less than what I weigh. I just wanted to go ahead and kind of piggyback on what Pat just said. You know, Austin Tyler did a lot of the heavy work on 9th Street. I thought they did a fine job, and they really only did it in 2 construction seasons, which for jobs like that, especially when we see our neighbors, when it takes 3, 4, 5 years to do a stretch of road about the same size. And also the and then to compliment PT Farrow for 11th Street. I cannot, you know, and PT's, they've done work in the past, and it's mostly in my ward, in the 3rd ward. And Austin Tyler's also done work, and they've done great work, but this time, when they got done, as good as the other projects have been done in the past, this one looks better than all the other projects that they did great jobs on too. So I just want to compliment PT Farrell and Austin Tyler for the job they did in the town the last couple of years.
Right on. Anybody else? All good? All right, friendos, thank you. I did want to make a note about Tony Conaderas from Anthony's Pancake. He passed away, and it's just been a real, tragic time for the family. Lost other family relatives, and it's just been very difficult for them. And I did want to acknowledge their just long service to the community with that restaurant. And if you're an old timer, you've been going there for a long time. And I think it still will be run by the family, and it's told the best way to honor them is to please continue to patronize Anthony's, even with the passing of Tony. And we just want to give thanks to the family for just really serving Lockport with their business for such a long time. So. All right, my friends. Looking to have a consent agenda this evening.
So moved.
All right, Darren and Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're looking to have to approve our regular city council meeting minutes from October 15th, our committee of the whole meeting minutes from October 15th, resolution 25084 for the purchase of the corner lot for the front half for $55,000 at closing, and then keep the west portion for a public parking lot. So that's 25084. Resolution 25085, which is authorizing the replacement of flooring at the Lockport PD, and then payroll period ending October 12th. So looking for a motion to approve.
Approve. Second.
All right, Pat and Jonathan, and then maybe do a roll call, please. Jonathan?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
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 Aye.
All right, next we're looking for approval for our minutes for the special meeting of the City Council on September 24th for the strategic planning session.
So moved.
Second.
Darren and Jonathan. Any questions about that? All good? All right, then we'll, a roll call, please.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
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 Aye.
All right, next we're looking for a motion to approve our bills through October 28th.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All right, we got Pat and Susie. And if there's no questions, we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
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 Aye.
All right, and lastly, we have Resolution 25089. We're looking for a motion for approval. It's the Conley Excavating and Construction for lead service replacements as we keep moving forward. What do we got with this year, next year? We think you will be wrapped up?
Yeah, we should be done. These four will bring us down to just over 70 left of lead and galvanized. So next year we have it budgeted, which Lisa will talk about later, to get them all replaced. So we'll be done with all 70, so we'll have no more lead or galvanized services within the city of Lockport.
Okay.
Which is about, probably, I think the IEPA just came out, it's about 11 years ahead of where their mandate is. So.
All right, very good. All right, thanks. All right, anyways, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have jumped ahead. Looking for a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Pat and Susie. All right. Any, thanks for the update on that. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, then we'll do a roll call, please.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
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 Aye.
All right. If there's nothing else, any new business?
Mayor, just one comment. Thought I'd give an update on the HVAC project at City Hall. One of the reasons why we're obviously all here. We got a little bit of a late start on it, so we're still obviously working on it. We are intent on having Christmas in the Square still at library's going to help out a little bit. We won't have use of the gymnasium, but we will have use of the lobbies and the restroom and the tree lighting ceremony and everything. So we'll be moving this along. We'll have a better timeline and update for you at the next meeting, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. And we should be able to get our staff back into our offices and then finalize the council chambers and those renovations for phase 2. We may still be here at the township getting closer to Christmas, but hopefully before the end of the year, we'll all be back in City Hall.
And Susan, isn't it correct that Santa is going to be at the library?
Yes.
What do you got, an inside connection? Nice.
I know
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right, Pat and was that Steve? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, Joanne,
Joanne.
sorry, I heard. So is it? Yeah, very similar. Mm-hmm. All right. So we good? Did we do an all in favor of?
Aye.
All right. Okay. Nay. All right. Whenever you see fit, committee of the whole, please. Yeah, lay it on us.
Present.
Here.
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 Here?
Present.
All right, very good. Before we get started, I probably should have said this under the last mayor's report, but there was an effort to rename the sanitary shipping canal. A few years ago, I had to approach Congressman Foster about it because, look, it's an awful name. It made sense in the 19th century, right, when they were moving all of Chicago's sewage down past all of our towns, and but the water's it's not the same anymore. They have that treatment plant next to Navy Pier. They treat their sewage, and the river's it's not what it used to be. And as a Duke, any way we can get rid of that old, outdated name. It's not that it seems like it makes a big deal, but as we look at doing a bike path along it, that's coming up in the near future, who wants to ride along the sanitary canal, So it's like, so Congressman Foster called me like about 6 months later because it turns out the Friends of the Chicago River, a group in the city, wanted to do the same thing. So we all met in Lamont, and they, started the process of renaming the waterway. It's much more complicated. I thought we were going to go in there and throw a few names out and be done and call it a day, but it was like a 1.5-year process, and it is very intensive just to rename a water body. And so it is what it is. There are a number of names. Christina asked if we could put that on the city. I think it's just a couple days left if you want to jump on there and pick a name. The committee had come up with, I don't know, about 6 or 7 names, so we can make sure we put that on the city Facebook page. I wanted the Better Than Fiji Water Canal just to make it sound really good, but that did not make the cut. But in any case, interesting thing. So, all right. So tonight we have our budget presentation. So Lisa, this is your day to shine.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Got a little bit of a cough going here. I just want to start by thanking the department heads, Maggie, the elected officials, Mayor, City Council for participating and being part of this whole budget process. It's a long couple of months to pull this together, but here we are, and I want to thank everybody for being a part of it and engaging. So here's a budget summary showing you the revenues of $92.6 million, expense of $94.6 million. So we're using excess reserves of $2.8 million to do some infrastructure projects in the next year. And we have a surplus in 4 of the funds to give us a $900,000 surplus. So the last column shows the excess fund balance that we have separated by each of the funds, but it comes to about 24.6 million. So a very healthy fund balance and a balanced budget from an operating standpoint with using some excess reserves for infrastructure projects. There is one change that I want to point out. As we met with department heads and the elected officials, we found one change that we needed to make from the budgets that were presented to each of you, and it was pointed out in the council memo, but we had $330,000 in a consulting line item that we're going to move out of there because it's in the CIP already. So it was in there 2 times. So we want to take that out, and we want to repurpose that money for a stormwater project at an HOA pond. That project will be determined later once we get through strategic planning and Brian gets all of the stormwater engineering reports back. He'll bring you back a report of which pond will be done next year, but the money has been set aside. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware. What you see in front of you in the budget is what was discussed other than that one change between those 2 accounts. And you'll see it in the detailed budget. That line item is in red. So it clearly identifies for you what has been changed. This is a status quo budget, so if we had expenses in there the prior year, it's in there in the next year, and I'll point out for you in a little bit any new expenses that we have. But again, just to remind you that this is a balanced budget from an operating perspective. So the citywide budgeted revenue is $92.6 million, and it really comes down to just a few categories. Water and sewer revenue makes up 21% of our revenues. State and local tax is 24%. Real estate tax makes up 10% of our total budget. Grants and donations, 7%. Development fees are at 1%. Now that looks awfully low, and that's because I budget extremely conservatively. We don't want to rely on any new property, any new subdivisions for our operating budgets. We want to use that money as one-time money for future infrastructure projects for the city. So budgeting conservatively like this just helps us to not rely on those monies. So that's why you see that amount being low, but really Lance's department's killing it. We do have an IUPA loan, I have it noted down on the bottom there, for $29 million, and that makes up 31% of next year's budget. So that is for the wastewater treatment plant, and that's going to be built over a 3-year period of time. So here are our expenses, and our expenses are also kind of categorized over 5 major groups. So 94% of the expenses are outlaid here. 54% of next year's $94.6 million is going to infrastructure projects. So that's capital construction and equipment. 15% makes up payroll and payroll-related expenses. 17% are for contractual or professional fees, so consultants, utilities, insurance. The next category is building and equipment maintenance, making up 3%. And then you'll see our low amount of debt payments at 2%. Excuse me. I wanted to show you what this year's expense budget looked like. We're projecting this year to end about $62 million, and you'll see it's jumping all the way up to $94 million, and then it stays up there a little bit for a couple of years, and that again is the wastewater treatment plant, which is being built over 3 years, and then you'll see it come back down again. So that's a substantial project for the city, probably the biggest one in our lives. Here's just the general fund. So the general fund is the operating fund for the city, and I just like to break out what the revenue sources look like for the general fund. So 30% is made up of real estate taxes, 27% sales tax, 20% state income tax, and then charges for services 11%. So you see that pie shape is pretty diversified. So we're not relying on just one funding source here in the city, which I think is very good. And we've made that movement to continue to diversify through the years. Here are the general fund expenses by department. You'll see the police department makes up almost 50% of the city's general fund expenses. Planning and building 8%, engineering 9%, public works 15%. We have some transfers to the capital fund in there, special projects, and then administration is 21%, which also includes some citywide expenses like all of our computer software and hardware all falls through administration. All of the expenses for liability insurance and worker comp insurance also go through administration, which is why it looks like a little bit more of an elevated expense line item. Here's the same general fund expense sorted by category. So you'll see that personnel expenses for the general fund makes up 45% here. Contractual expenses 39%, and then we have small other categories there of maintenance and transfers. So this is where I want to talk about the increases. So water and sewer rates set by ordinance will increase from a volumetric purpose 3% next year, and the surcharge for water and sewer is being increased by $1 each. Property taxes are set to increase as well by the CPI and new property, but I'm going to dig into property tax if I could in 2 weeks when I present the property tax levy to you all. So we'll get a much deeper dive into that in 2 weeks. We are asking for one new position here at the city, and that's an IT manager. It's been a long time, almost 10 years, I believe, since we've had an IT in-house person. We've used an outside consultant, but the majority of those responsibilities were distributed amongst staff. So a lot of different people picked up the responsibilities, and in today's day, we're really thinking that it would serve the city's purpose to have an IT manager that can oversee all of those things to help to protect the city from anything nefarious, cyber attacks, and things like that. So these are some new operating expenses that were built into the budget as requested by different departments. So we have tree trimming. Right now, we do in-house tree trimming. What Brian is proposing is that we accomplish more tree trimming than we're doing in-house by also adding an outside service to come and do some of the parkway trimming for us. We have a community garden. Christina mentioned that through a survey, but money has been built inside the budget to help us to prepare the land for that if we do move forward. We have the Route 6600 year celebration built into the budget. That's a one-time expense to celebrate this one-time event. Some GIS improvements, some added layers that Brian would like to do within the GIS system. We have a development agreement that starts in January, so that we'll be making payments on that for the next 6 years. We have an ELUC consulting for the Chevron plant. Not the plant, but the Chevron facility, the land out there. And then some fleet management software. So those are really the new expenses from an operating perspective. Here's infrastructure. This is big, $52.5 million, enormous amount of projects. I don't know how Brian and his staff are going to accomplish all of this, but there's a lot in here. So, you know, again, we're going to continue to do some water main and road reconstructions, well rehabilitations, lead replacements, as Brian mentioned earlier today, the wastewater treatment plant, which is huge and will take place over 3 years, some additional stormwater, ongoing maintenance, engineering, and a salt barn. And I listed the revenue sources that we use to fund those projects. And of course, the largest one I mentioned earlier was the IEPA loan, which is a low interest loan for the wastewater treatment plant. Here's the list of projects for next year that were rollovers from this year. So these were projects that were either not started, that we were approved in 2025, were either not started, or there is some part of it that needs to carry over into next year. So we have about $5 million that is going to roll over or carry over from existing projects. And then here's his list of new projects for next year. I've never seen such a big list, but there's a lot on there. Of course, the number one is the wastewater treatment plant, but there's a lot going on, and we're moving in a lot of different directions here for the city to give us $52 million of infrastructure projects. Here is some equipment and building capital expenses that were requested. The street department is asking for a loader to replace a piece of really aged equipment, a plow truck. Excuse me. The police department has a squad car, some lockers. We're moving the EMA building from the wastewater treatment plant because we need that space for the new plant, and moving that out to the Chevron site. And then some radios for the police department and as well for public works. Those will be paid for through Westcom, who's our dispatch service, over the next 5 years. So that's not a one-year spend, but is a total of a $500,000 expense. We're looking to do some additional tuck pointing at City Hall and a truck for the sewer department. So here's what we have going forward. We're going to do the public hearing for the budget in 2 weeks, and then we'll also present the property tax levy, and then we'll look on December 3rd for approval of both the budget and the property tax approval. So I'll take any questions or concerns that you may have.
Hello. It's not necessarily a question or something to address at this time, but I just had some thoughts that I'm still working through on some possible ways that maybe we could lower the taxes a smidge. But like I said, it's not fully baked, but I think everything here was well presented, very well. I just had a few questions that I need to work through a little bit, but just some thoughts that I'll have maybe in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Yeah, we'll dig in really deep on property tax in 2 weeks, so we'll look for your comments.
Because you'll have the actual assessments, right, from the
Well,
county?
they're still estimates. We won't have actual assessments until April.
Till April, okay.
Right, but we have to pass a levy based on the estimates.
Yeah, all right.
So,
I have a question for, I guess, both Brian and Lisa, is for the capital improvement projects, where's Sisson on this list? Can it be added? And also, what about, do you guys do alleyways? The alleyway behind Sisson?
The alley behind Sisson, I'm not sure what that one is, but when we do the area, we would do everything, because we've done the alleys, or if it's in bad condition, we can look at it now as part of the resurfacing. Sisson and Johnson Addition, those two subdivisions are, or just south of Division, those areas, those are actually in, I think it starts design in 28, 29, and 30. So those are in the outer years. The current year has, this year we're doing Jefferson, Washington, and Hamilton. Those will be getting done this year. Next year, the 27 will have State Street, where it's a 4-inch water main. And we're going to be coming from basically the southern limits all the way to Division and doing that one. And that's ahead of IDOT, who is going to be resurfacing that section of the roadway. So we have to kind of get that done so that we can put the water main in under the road and get all the services over, so we can get that. And then in 28, we'll start looking at, actually the project will be the rear yards for the, wait a minute, I think there's Midland. Yeah, Putnam, Midland, and as that subdivision. Was it? Maitland, thank you. So we're going to be doing those streets, and those currently have the rear yard water main and sanitary in there. And what it is those are where garages have been built and all that. So the first phase was done even before I got here, like 4 years ago. So it was designed and was supposed to go, but it kind of fell off to kind of get the downtown done. But we got to get back on those water main projects so that we can get the water main, and our guys aren't going in backyards trying to fix a water main break or under a garage or other things that have been built over it, so we can get those out in the parkway. After that, then we're going to go back to starting the recons of the Division area, just south of Division, in those two divisions. So
Okay.
it is in the 5-year plan.
Okay.
If I could just mention too, when he talks about recon, it's full reconstruction, right? It's one of those rip out everything, start all over, very expensive. It's not just resurfacing. One of the thoughts we had about doing it in 2028 is we have that $10 million bond that's going to be completed, and we can make a decision, the council can, as we look at the CIP in the future years. Are we going to bond out to catch up on all those Sisson and Johnson projects in 1 or 2 years? Are we going to blend them out and do them slowly and take the payments that we'd normally make for a bond and get one done each year? So that will free up some expenses or revenues to spend on these kind of projects, because they are going to be very expensive. And there was a prior council that we had discussed taking on these initiatives south of Division, and I think we all agreed at that time that was important to do for the quality of life and service for those residents. It's just getting it into our CIP and getting going on it.
I told Lisa and Ben I wouldn't ask any questions, so this is more of a comment. Lisa mentioned that for these improvement projects, when they find available funds from the state and local that can be applied to these projects, which lessens the burden on our taxing body, they try to coordinate the projects together. Like I said, the resurfacing of that. We're going to tear everything out of the ground, put everything below ground, and they come through and do the final surfacing. So it's great that you and Brian work together. You find the money, he finds a hole in his project list to get it in there. So it's really a tag team effort, and I commend both of you for working together to try to save the residents.
I would have to give credit to our lobbyist. He has been incredible at helping to find that money for us, and then Ben and Brian will work on projects together. So yeah, we're happy to partner with the state any way we can.
I just have, every year for many, many years now, I've asked Lisa to go ahead and give me an update of the history of the tax rate. She sent me a history back on October 24th. It might be able to help people who, when people can look at a spreadsheet of numbers. If you could send what you sent me back in October to everybody else.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts, comments, friends? All right, I know it's always a lot of work, and I know taking the time to talk to all the aldermen and in turn and go in depth. So we always appreciate all the hard work that goes into this, Lisa. Thank you. And yeah, we'll look forward to next steps. All right. Next on the agenda is CA1.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This is the 2026 annual schedule of meetings for the Lockport City Council and the Board of Police Commissioners, Heritage and Architecture, and the Planning and Zoning Commission. Note that we have made the decision to move the Planning and Zoning Commissions to Wednesdays permanently now, because we've been doing that temporarily, and it seems to be working well for everybody and staff and members, and everybody remembers it's Wednesdays and not Tuesdays, so we're going to keep doing that. There are no meetings proposed to be skipped next year, so there's going to be 2 meetings available to each month for the City Council, and we're just looking to have the council's consent to have this approved and published online for next year's meetings.
All right. Do you guys want to put this on consent, or did you want to put it on consent? Okay.
Sure.
All right, consent it is.
Thank you.
What else you got, Ben?
Yes, thank you. The next item, Mayor, is Resolution 25086. This is a lease agreement extension for a portion of the Central Square building at City Hall for the use by the Lockport Chamber of Commerce. We've had a lease with them since 2020. It's going to be expiring here at the end of the year. We are looking to keep the space the same. We've kept the terms the same at this point. We were seeking a 5-year extension with the possibility of a renewal. The document for the agreement was prepared by Mike and is in your packet. If there's any other questions or comments or concerns, I don't think we have anybody here from the chamber tonight, but they provide insurance and all the things that we require of our tenants. So.
Okay. Everybody good?
I'd like to propose that it be a 2-year with 4 renewals to cover those 10 years, just to protect the city should we need additional office space. 5 years just seems a long time. We don't need it. I mean, it doesn't seem to be a huge. Number one, there's not a huge amount of money coming in related to it, so I think they'd be amenable to that. But if in 2 years we need more staff and more places to put them, I'd like the option to not build and to use our own facility.
I think is there a section in there, Mike, that gives us a break on that? But 2-year renewals is fine. I mean,
I think
The original document, the draft from the last agreement was 5 years with automatic renewals. I never like automatic renewals. We've had this conversation about other contracts. So I had changed the language to be a mutual renewal, just for what the council member said, which is if we find that we have space needs that exceed those as they currently exist, we'd be able to not renew it after 5 years, whereas an automatic renewal wouldn't allow it. My only recommendation to the council would be if you're looking to make the change, unless there's a kind of an informal consensus, we could put it for action and take care of it at the next meeting. So whichever council prefers, could do it either way.
Yeah, I mean, two-year renewal, 3-year, I mean,
I understand.
I don't have a preference, Mayor, I don't know if you have.
I mean, I'm open to it. Whatever you guys want to do, it's irrelevant to me. But it sounds like to me you have right now it's a 2-year. After 2 years, we have a.
No, it's still, the original term is 5 years, as been mentioned. I just made it where there's no automatic 2 5-year extensions, which is what their agreement originally held.
All right, I got you.
So the original term can be 5, 3, 2. It can have the mutual opportunity for another 2 or 3 or 5. I mean, it's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, correct?
So okay, so you're just looking at doing twos.
Yeah. Yeah, if there's consensus for that, we'll make that amendment and bring back for an action item.
What's the council's? What do you guys want to do? Do 2 years? 2 years? 2 years?
Jonathan had a good idea.
It's a pretty.
I mean, I don't. It's fine. I mean, it's no, whatever you guys want to do. So we can do that. We can put it on action. You can approach the chamber and tell them they're looking at doing 2 2 2s.
Yeah. The other idea I had was because it is a highly discounted space, it would be nice to see an impact report at the end of the year. I think for members of the chamber, the paying members of the chamber, and for the city to see kind of the good they've done. It doesn't have to be anything amazing, but in exchange for $200 a month rent.
What kind of impact are you looking for, man? I don't understand. Like 10 new businesses came because of the chamber? Like what? Like what kind of impact are you talking about?
The resources that they are providing, proof that the businesses are taking advantage of those resources. I mean, you want the people that are working, or we're giving a discounted rate to a organization that operates out of the city. I don't have a problem with that. It would be nice to have evidence that they're doing good for the businesses in our town.
I guess you should quantify it, man. If you're going to ask them to do that, you should quantify exactly what you're looking for. Like what is that you're doing good for businesses? Businesses are happy. Businesses did more revenue than the year before, because you need to come up with that metric.
Happy.
All right.
So, Mayor, was there a consensus to do 2 with 4 renewals, or we're going to put it on action?
Yeah, I think we're going to
Yeah,
amend
that's
for
fine. It should be
2-year renewals. I'll talk to the chamber and then let them know, and that the annual impact report, I don't think needs to be part of the lease agreement. We can certainly ask for that at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'll get details on it.
But we'll quantify that a little bit more.
yeah, and I
Do you not want them having an impact? Like,
well, I mean, they do a lot of impact, and I kind of
they may already make it.
they do. And now I'm going to make them jump through a bunch of hoops, but
Well, I'm saying they may already make an impact report for their members.
all right. Well, why don't you task you with following up with that and looking into it.
Because I already volunteered to do.
Okay.
So we'll go to the action on that one. Thank you, sir.
All right. Next, looking for CD1, Resolution 25080. What do we got?
This is a release of the bond and initial acceptance of improvements for Landworks. They are up on Gauger Road close to the Heritage Crossings Center. They are a landscape company. They are on unincorporated property, but they needed to access our sewer and water in Gauger, and we provided that for the tap-on fees, and then they also built a new apron onto Gauger Road to meet our standards. So it's not a full development project like what we would normally do, but they posted a bond of $194,205.16. We've inspected all of those things. We believe that the letter of credit can be released, and it's contingent on them providing a 12-month maintenance guarantee for 10% of the original bond amount. And that covers us for 12 months, and then we will re-inspect it in 10 months. And if anything is broken or cracked or things like that, we require that they replace that.
I have a question for you. I don't recall, are they annexed in the city of Lockport?
No. This was happening before our boundary agreement expired, so they came to the city before July 1st of whenever the agreement expired, and so we didn't have any recourse unless we were going to go into a boundary agreement to redraw the line to include them, and so they were able to stay out of the city, but they still needed water and sewer. The property directly to the south that was formerly the Wingren landscape property, that one obviously is for sale right now, and if anybody comes and does a development, we would require that they annex into the city, so long as we don't have a boundary agreement approval at that point that does not include that property.
So, what is that property zoned?
In the county, it is zoned,
I'm assuming agricultural.
I don't know if it is. I think because they had to rezone it for the landscape contractor's yard, I think that it got rezoned to a more commercial zoning. I don't know what it is exactly offhand.
Well, I think there should be some good faith on their part to, if we're providing them water and sewer, that they annex in the city. It's gonna cost them $200 a year.
No, I get that. We would have to re-engage them and bring them through the annexation process separately. But we can certainly ask them.
So this is right south of the RGW building, right? That one?
No, it is, so the southernmost building, Heritage Crossings building on the east side of Gauger.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I was on the wrong
Yeah.
side of Gauger.
So if you're looking at an area, you'll probably end up seeing
I
a
got it.
construction site.
Yeah.
It's north of the Wingren landscape yard. It's the property directly north of there.
Well, yeah, I mean, with the boundary expired, if we're going to be providing water and sewer, it's a wrong conversation to have with them.
It was just a matter of the fact that we didn't have the boundary agreement expired at the time that they came through the county and came through us. So we couldn't require them to annex unless the council wanted to re-engage Homer Glen for a new boundary agreement. But now that the boundary is expired, we can certainly ask them. It may be difficult to force annex them because we do not wholly surround that property. But if they want to voluntarily annex, we can certainly ask. But the property directly south, the old Wingren site, that would be required to annex.
Okay. I mean, I go either way with it, man. I get the problem, because look, we started this conversation with them beforehand, so, but I think the fact that we don't have a boundary is problematic, and obviously keep marching forward with pretending that there's a boundary when there's not, so.
Yeah, they were already under construction when the boundary agreement expired, so the conversation started about 2 years ago. And then they went through the county for the design process. We were able to offer comment to the county about their plan, and then they started construction.
All right, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, the subject of this is just simply the release of the letter of credit.
Yeah, I get it. It's kind of like, it's not the appropriate time to do it, but I hear what you're saying about the rest of the properties, and I think anything that's going along Gauger Road.
Yeah.
for that matter.
Right. Lance and I can engage with them, and we'll have a conversation and bring something back to you.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. So as far as what's on the agenda, do you guys want to consent to releasing the bond then? As we had an original agreement with them? Everyone? Darren, Joanne, you guys hear that? So they'll engage about the conversation, staff, as far as annexation. But in the meantime, honoring our original agreement, to release the bond now that they've met the obligations. Are we okay with? So we'll put that on consent then? All right. Last, well, CD2 is the release of the bond for Redwood Phase What do you got there, Lance?
So this is Redwood Phase 1. They established a bond of $4,542,386. We reduced it one time because they had completed a number of the improvements and we had accepted them, but there were still some punch list items outstanding. This is a request to release that. We have worked with them through all of our punch list items, and then they would need to post a 10% maintenance agreement, just exactly the same thing as what we just said for Landworks, where we will re-inspect it in 10 months, give them time to repair whatever needs to be repaired, and then we would release the maintenance bond. This does not impact Phase 2. So Phase 2 is pretty much the empty ground that's out there right now. Last that we have heard, they plan to start Phase 2 in the spring, once the ground thaws and they can start putting concrete and foundations in.
All right. Any questions, thoughts? You guys good with consent on that then? All right. And then lastly,
This is yet another release of the bond and the initial acceptance. This is all when Dan Watson was on his way out, so he did yeoman's efforts to try and get everything closed out before he walked out the door. But this is for the 923 State Street mixed-use port project. They had posted a letter of credit for $104,227. We reduced that because they completed the vast majority of the work to $10,422.73. We are looking to for the council to release the rest of that letter of credit, and they will post a maintenance bond again for a 12-month period for 10% of the original letter of credit amount.
all right. Any questions, thoughts? Consent okay? All righty. Then, just that's everything, friends. If there's nothing else, we can do a motion to adjourn. Steve and Christina, all in favor?